So welcome back. Welcome to part 2 of every movie I saw in 2019 ranked from the worst to the best. Sorry this video is coming at you guys a little late. I started up school again and so, things have been difficult. I gotta get readjusted, etc. So for this list, I'll be covering the top 18 movies I saw in 2019. Like I said in my first video, I'm only going to be covering these movies kind of briefly. I have so many to talk about that I'm only going to give, maybe 4 or 5 points for each one. If you guys want to see more specific in-depth reviews for any of these movies, let me know in the comments below, and I'll rewatch these movies and get a review out. So yeah, let's not waste any more time. At number 18 is Dr. Sleep. Mike Flanagan's Shining sequel is solid, but not great. Ewan McGregor, Rebecca Ferguson, and the one little girl, I'm sorry I'm blanking on her name, they all three do a good job, and Mike Flanagan's direction is very good. But the characters feel a bit bland, and the pacing is a tad bit off, and I just didn't feel that I felt as much as I should have during the final act, which is admittedly pretty epic. I just wasn't as invested in Dan Torrance and his character as I feel I should have been. That being said, it's a solid movie, it provides excellent scares, and Mike Flanagan is definitely a director to keep an eye on. At number 17 is Spider-Man Far From Home. Watch this second Spider-Man movie, it's pretty solid. The characters, action, dialogue, it's all what you'd expect from a Marvel movie. But the villain is a bit underdeveloped, the twist is repetitive, and Spider-Man's character arc feels a little bit repetitive. It's solid enough, but in my opinion doesn't touch Spider-Verse or the Raimi trilogy, although I probably do like it a bit more than Spider-Man Homecoming. At number 16 is Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. This movie was a big mixed bag for me. The character arcs work, the themes are solid, and there's lots of fun, action, and adventure, the things you'd expect from Abrams. That being said, the plot is sloppy, the character arcs can feel forced, and there's lots of contrivances. I've made 2 videos about this movie so far, so if you want more detail, you can go check those out. It ends the Skywalker saga well, but it just doesn't resonate as much as it should have. At number 15 is Midsommar, or Midsommar, however you want to pronounce it. Ari Aster's second horror film provides a lot to like, but a lot to dislike. The direction is great. The way that Ari Aster frames his shots and builds suspense is incredible. He also directs his actors in a way so that the film shows us who they are rather than telling us. But the movie does have some weak spots. The story's a bit slow, the side characters feel a bit bland, and there are a couple times where the characters kind of have to act stupid in order for the movie to work. So it's a technically well-made movie. The cinematography, editing, direction, all that's excellent, but it just lacks a compelling narrative. At number 14 is Us. Jordan Peele's second horror movie is pretty solid. The acting, score, and story are pretty good. The best part of the movie is Jordan Peele's directing. He's able to build suspense in a way that not many others do. The movie's faults lie with its themes. The movie's primary theme of, duality, doppelganger, getting over your dark side, all of those work fine. But when the movie tries to be about society and xenophobia, that's when the movie gets clunky. So this movie's definitely worth a watch, but it could have been better. I also want to note, I haven't seen Get Out yet, which I know is so strange because that was such a popular movie. I actually own a physical copy, just haven't gotten around to watching it yet. At number 13 is Lego Movie 2, the second part. This movie came and went with a whimper, but I really liked it. I think the morals and themes this movie presents are almost as good as the first. And while you can tell that Lord and Miller are not in the director's chair, Mike Mitchell does a good job bringing their story to life. The voice acting and characters are just as fun as in the first. And this is a worthy sequel that got ignored more than it should have. At number 12 is How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World. What a great finale. This is now one of my favorite trilogies. The animation, cinematography, voice acting, score, story, and character arcs are on point. The final couple scenes of this movie left me in tears. It was so resonant, I loved it so much. I suppose it's not quite in the top 10 for me just because the finale of this movie is a bit repetitive of the second movie. A dragon hunter takes away all the dragons and they have to figure out a way to save the dragons without actually using dragons. It is a bit repetitive. However, this is still a satisfying conclusion to an epic trilogy, one I can't wait to pick up on a hard copy. At number 11 is El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie. While some were disappointed with this movie, I was not. Maybe the finale to Game of Thrones was so bad that Vince Gilligan and the crew had to come back and give Breaking Bad a second perfect finale. This movie has everything you'd expect from Breaking Bad. Excellent cinematography, great acting, suspense, character-based drama, and an excellent score. While I'll admit that this movie isn't 100% essential to the Breaking Bad story, it's a fine addition to the canon and is definitely worth a watch. It ends Jesse Pinkman's arc in a satisfying way, and Aaron Paul is just as good in this movie as he was on the show. So yeah, at number 10 is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Tarantino's love letter to 1960s Hollywood is just as fun as it sounds. This movie combines excellent performances from DiCaprio, Pitt, and Robbie with Tarantino's iconic suspense, quippy dialogue, and narrative structure to create a visceral experience. This movie isn't higher because it does drag in parts like a lot of other Tarantino movies do, but it's still a very fun romp that ends with a finale that left my entire family laughing. At number 9 is Uncut Gems. Adam Sandler gives the performance of a lifetime as an adrenaline junkie trying to score. The movie is frantic, hectic, and anxiety-inducing. The Safdie brothers direct in a way that the movie never stops building tension. It builds and builds into an explosive finale. This movie left me breathless and deserves its spot in the top 10. At number 8 is The Irishman. Scorsese's return to mob movies is a triumph. This movie features fantastic performances from Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Joe Pesci, Ray Romano, and Anna Paquin. While parts of it follow the gangster movie formula, it breaks formula by focusing on the friendship between Frank Sheeran and Jimmy Hoffa. The de-aging in this movie is incredible, some of the best I've ever seen. The movie even features a little bit of sentiment toward the end, something you're unlikely to see in a gangster movie. The best part of this movie is, like I said before, the relationship between Jimmy Hoffa and Frank Sheeran. The bond that the two characters have is just, it's unique, it really is. So yeah, definitely a great movie, very much worth checking out. I was originally going to watch it as a miniseries because it's 3 hours long, but my dad and I watched this entire movie in one sitting, 3.5 hours. That's how good it is.
And I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for saying this, but Martin Scorsese is really good at creating movies about human beings trying to convey emotional, psychological experiences to another human being. All that being said, Endgame was better.
At number 7 is The Lighthouse. This movie has probably moved up and down on this list more than any other movie. For a while it was at number 5, then it was at number 2, and finally it settled at number 7. Most likely though, it'll move up and down some more. Robert Eggers' direction is excellent. He and his brother's script is great. Pattinson and Dafoe, fantastic in the movie. But the actual plot of this movie just feels a bit empty. I wish there was more to the story of this movie. Plus, this is by far and away the most pretentious movie on this list. It feels like a student film trying to prove that it's artsy, you know, it's black and white, it's shot in 4:3 aspect ratio, there's a naked woman in the movie, but overall it just goes too far with the whole, hey, look at me, I'm artistic thing. So overall, it is good, it's unique, it's stylistic, but there are parts that are just a bit mediocre. At number 6 is Shazam. This might be the most fun movie I saw all year. David F. Sandberg creates a coming-of-age superhero origin story. The movie tackles ideas like family and relationships in a fresh and interesting way. Zachary Levi and Asher Angel are really good, even if they feel like different characters. Mark Strong provides perhaps the best and most sympathetic villain in the DCEU so far. So despite some tonal issues, this movie is still an absolute blast that will leave you smiling the entire time. At number 5 is Joker. Todd Phillips' art house supervillain origin story is pretty good. It perfectly crafts Arthur Fleck's descent into insanity. Phoenix's performance is one of the best of the year. Phillips is a strong director and takes influence from Scorsese in a good way. While some people have criticized this movie for being formulaic, which it admittedly is, I still think the strong parts of this movie are really strong. At number 4 is Toy Story 4. I was as skeptical as anyone else when this movie was announced. I thought Toy Story 3 was a very satisfying conclusion to the trilogy, but this movie proved me wrong. This movie does the impossible, showing how there was a bit more story to be told. It ends Woody's character arc in the best way possible. The new/returning characters like Bo Peep, Duke Kaboom, Ducky, and Bunny are fantastic additions to the cast. Yes, maybe this movie should have been called Woody instead of Toy Story 4. That being said, it's still a satisfying conclusion. Absolutely deserves its place in the top 5. At number 3 is Avengers Endgame. This is one of the most satisfying conclusions to a movie franchise ever. This movie offers everything you want from an MCU movie. The characters, humor, action, adventure, it's all there. It culminates in one of the best third acts I've ever seen in a movie.
This movie also gets probably the special honorary award of being the best theater experience I had in 2019. No question.
Alan Silvestri brought his A game for this movie's score, and the Russos, Marcus, McFeely, and Kevin Feige are at their best as well. Yes, the CGI is a bit sloppy, and the filmmaking could be a bit bland at times, but the high parts of this film more than make up for the low.
Assemble.
And while these movies may not be technical accomplishments or artistic accomplishments, I'd argue they are the biggest narrative accomplishment in all of cinema. Literally no one else has been able to quite replicate this, at least not yet. Many people have tried and failed, and some people have done it, okay. Heck, some people are even figuring out the flaws with it and arguably doing it better. But no one has been able to do exactly this quite the way Marvel Studios has, and I don't think anyone will for a really long time. In the end, it doesn't really matter if anyone does or doesn't, because we'll always have this franchise, this saga of movies. They're permanently embedded into the minds of people my age. They've made their mark on history and won't fade away.
At number 2 is Knives Out. Rian Johnson's revival of the whodunit genre is a force to be reckoned with. The plot keeps you guessing, throwing a new twist every 20 or 30 minutes. The best part of the movie is the characters. Johnson assembled this wonderful ensemble cast that truly does a great job. The movie is filled with tons of tributes and homages to the whodunit genre. You can tell it's made by somebody who appreciates the history and iconography. Overall, it's an absolute blast, very much worth seeing, very much worth buying. I cannot recommend this movie enough. But at number 1, my favorite movie of the year was Marriage Story. Holy crap, this movie blew me away. This movie features probably some of the best performances ever from Adam Driver, Scarlett Johansson, Laura Dern, and Alan Alda. I love how this movie's not as much about the courtroom drama as much as it is about the relationships and the dynamics and just how going through the divorce affects these two lead characters. Noah Baumbach's direction is spectacular. The blocking, set design, shot composition, and camera work is fantastic. I would highly recommend this movie to anyone who wants a personal, touching movie that will make you uncomfortable, will probably make you cry, but is still one of the best movies I've seen all year. So yeah, that's it. That's my ranking. Let me know in the comments below, how would you guys rank the movies you saw this year, or what would y'all's top 10 be? Do you guys agree with my ranking, disagree? Let me know in the comments below. If there's any of these movies you want me to see do a full-length review of, let me know. I'll try to get around to doing it. So yeah, as always, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe. Bye.